Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Barry Moore. I want to first thank you for sharing the video we did a few weeks ago. About 31,000 views, 400 something shares, and I've been compelled by my friends and family, and even some people that work with me on the campaign as volunteers, to please shoot another video and kind of update things and what's been going on. And I've been watching these hearings, and of course, last night the failure on the part of the Republican Senate to repeal Obamacare is really one of the things that motivated me to go ahead and get on this morning. I want to read a quote that this is from Nancy Pelosi now, probably one of the most liberal, anti-freedom individuals that we have in this country. And this is her quote from the vote concerning health care and the failure to repeal. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, this is a quote: "It was a late night, but a victorious one for the American people." Somebody explain to me, what American people is she talking about? The American people that gave the Republicans the House majority? The American people that gave the Senate a Republican majority? The American people that elected a man by the name of Donald Trump to repeal Obamacare? What American people is she talking about? Let me tell you what's happened to us, folks. In the video I shot a few weeks ago, I said people we are being played, and that's exactly what's going on in this country. I've served in Alabama House of Representatives now since 2010, and I saw and still observe. I'm in my second term, and I'm not running again. I decided that nobody needs to make a career of politics, but I saw how the lobbyists in Montgomery would get their hooks into people. And they'll tell you, you're the best thing since sliced bread, and they'll fund your campaign, and they'll meet with you. And before long, if you don't really remember who you are, and you don't have a pretty core group of convictions, you tend to think you live in a bubble. And then in some ways, you're untouchable. Well, that's what's going on with America, and that's what's happening in D.C. There is a swamp. The president has mentioned it a number of times, but let's just talk a little bit about it. For example, the Senate and the House members voted for Obamacare, and it was passed. And they have a choice in health care. They have 4 different companies with over 100 policies to choose from. But if you want to add insult to injury, they get a 75%, they call it a rebate on their policies. I call it a kickback, but they call it a rebate. I talked to a family last night that their health care premiums are at $60,000 a year. They eventually just decided they're a working class, middle class family. They said, we just simply can't afford it anymore, Barry. And so John McCain absolutely betrayed the American people last night. If you watch his speech from 2010, 5 times or 6 times in a row, he's talking about Obamacare, and he says, repeal, replace, repeal, replace. And then last night, he shows up in D.C. earlier this week and brings it up for a vote so he can walk down with all the world watching and thumbs down. You could hear a gasp in the room when the man voted against it. John McCain betrayed the American people last night. And what's so frustrating to me is that his comments afterwards were like, I didn't trust the House and Conference Committee to fix the issue. So, Mr. McCain, we're supposed to trust you. You ran in 2010 on a repeal, replace. And you walk down there when you have the first chance with a sitting president that's agreed to sign the bill, and you thumbs down, you no vote it, sir. Who are we to trust? Who are we to trust? Who are our presidents to trust? The American people elected Donald Trump. He's a president of the people, by the people, and for the people. Repeal of Obamacare is the first thing on the agenda. Reform the tax code and build that wall. That's the things he's trying to do. But you guys, if you think about this, the House Republicans control the committee chairmanships because they are in a majority. The Senate Republicans control those committees because they're in a majority. Do you realize that President Trump's nominees for cabinets appointees have had more filibusters than any president in history? And then they started this Russian collusion investigation. if the Republicans that we sent there are in charge, why are they 6 months investigating something with no evidence, no collusion at all? Because they wanted to delay the votes on health care. They want to delay the votes on the tax reforms. And they're trying to delay the votes on, they don't want to build that wall. Because they don't want to give to us, the American people, the voice that we sent, thinking that Donald Trump would have support of the House and the Senate. They ran on 8 or 10 years of raising money to repeal Obamacare. We donated money to their campaigns. You know, I'm running for Congress. I told you I wasn't running for the House again, and I'm not, but I ran for U.S. Congress because I was the first guy in the state of Alabama to endorse Donald Trump. I stood with him on a stage in Mobile. And my congressman, she, when it was between Hillary and Donald Trump, said Donald Trump was unfit to serve. And some guys in the Trump train called me that night and said, would you run? I said, let's get him elected president first. We'll pray about that and see what happens going down the road. But I looked at her campaign finance reports last week, or actually yesterday. Vast majority. She's raised a lot more money than we have. We raised about 30 to 40% of what she's raised thus far. But all of her money's coming from D.C. A vast majority, probably 95% of it. I didn't do the math, but it's a large chunk of change. And all mine's coming from the district. But when you get up there and these people get their hooks in you, and then they run out there and they run on, oh, we're going to repeal Obamacare, and we donate money to them to help them do it, and then they thumb down it on the final vote. And it only passed by 5 votes in the House. It ain't like the Republicans. There was 20 of them that didn't vote with us on that in the House of Representatives. Our agenda, our voice is being squashed by this entrenched rhino, if you want to call them Republican in name only, or people who have lost their way, along with the DNC and the media. This usually a Republican president has to fight the media, and we understand he's going to have to fight the Democrats. But to have to fight the Republicans, and for them to allow these Russian collusion hearings to go on so none of these votes are going to happen and his agenda's not going to move forward, we're being played, people. We're being played. And they ran on that, and they raised money on that, and then they violated our trust, and they took our money last night. And this health care thing, it's a tax. It was never about health care. They took 1/6 of our nation's economy and turned it over to the federal government. And you were going to get to keep your doctor, and you're going to keep your health care plan. And we saw exactly how that played out. It was all a lie. Since when does a health care plan require you to hire 16,000 IRS agents? Why wasn't that 16,000 nurses and doctors if it was really about health care? It was a tax plan. It was a redistribute wealth. And that's why the middle class people in this country can't afford the health care. They can't afford the deductibles, and they're losing health care by the droves. And the last thing that I think we need to talk about this morning, and one of the things that we need to put out there, and I've been thinking about it the last couple of weeks, is this special prosecutor, Robert Mueller. Not do we only have the House and Senate committees looking into President Trump and this non-existent Russian collusion, but now Robert Mueller, he's a special investigation that wouldn't even exist if Comey hadn't leaked a memo to the media to trigger it. So it was a leak that triggered an investigation, which is a violation of our president's civil rights. And let me explain what I'm talking about. In America, the criminal justice system is set up to where if there's a crime and when there's a crime committed, you go investigate the crime. You follow the evidence, and then you decide who committed the crime. And then once you got a suspect, that suspect then has a right to a fair trial. What's going on with this special investigation? Robert Mueller, who's got a vast majority of the people he's appointed to serve with him on this investigative committee, have ties to the DNC. They have ties to the Clinton Foundation. And what they're doing is they're taking a man by the name of Donald J. Trump, and they're digging to see if he's ever committed any crime. That's not the way. That's a banana republic justice system. You find an individual and destroy him with an unlimited budget and no timeline, and you look for a crime, and then you prosecute him for it. Or you try to leak it out there so it hurts him in some way and slows his agenda. And, I told President Trump, like I said, he came through Alabama 3 or 4 times. I was with him 3 times. And the last stop he made was in Mobile on his way to the inauguration. And I looked him in the eye and I said, Mr. President, I appreciate you putting your family through this. I know how difficult that can be because I went through it in 2014, and I knew exactly what it was like to have your family sort of dragged through the mud. And I could tell that hit a chord with him. I could tell that he really appreciated me saying that. And I think that's why we're seeing some of the issues in the White House this week, is that now they've dragged his son, Donald Jr., they've dragged Jared Kushner in front of these hearings and these committees, now ran by Republicans, mind you, but they're dragging this man's family and children in there, having them testify, and I'm sure it's under oath, so maybe they'll perjure themselves, and then we can force them to turn something over on their dad or their father-in-law. But I can see where that could cause some problems, and it's certainly a distraction. We need to pray for our president, people. He is under an immense attack, a tremendous attack. I think it's a battle unlike any president in modern history has faced. He's fighting not only the Republicans that are entrenched, he's fighting the establishment, the swamp itself. He didn't take money from them. He doesn't owe them anything. He took our votes, and he knows it, and he wants to honor that. But the very people that should be helping him are working against him. And I want one last thing, guys. Like I said, I'm running for Congress to support our president to help drain that swamp. And if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, if you want to see more videos, that's cool. Go on www.barrymoreforcongress.com, and you can contact us there and email us or whatever, get in touch with us. But pray for your president. Pray for your nation, people. I think we're at a precipice here. There's a tipping point. Our president's under a great deal of pressure, and they're going to continue to apply that, but we need to continue to apply. We as the American people, we can apply pressure. We have power. We will take this nation back. We will make America great again. It's going to take tenacity. It's going to take a really, really sound thought process. Don't listen to the media. They told you he would never win. There was no chance. Listen to your gut. Listen to that inner voice that says, you know what, I'm not the only one out here that feels this way. And we're going to support our president. We're going to pray for our president. People, let's don't get played anymore. Stand up, America. Be patriots. God bless you.